Hey there, welcome to Synth Seeker. My name is Luke. Today we're doing another one synth video. The focus today is the Waldorf Blofeld here that I've got on the table. It's a little teeny synth with a little teeny panel and, a relatively speaking, medium-sized screen. I know it's not going to come through in the camera, but it's more about the sound than anything. This is not like a tutorial where I explain how to patch it, but I'm going to walk you through me using the panel, creating some sounds that are appropriate for Berlin School, which is, very basic sounds, and build a little sketch here in Ableton just so that, like the other one synth videos, it's so that I've got a reference for comparison and contrast between the synths, and I'm just going to keep doing that over time with all the synths in my collection. So let's get rolling. It is like super early. The sun is not up yet. I woke up, I couldn't sleep. Then my dog was like, hey, take me outside. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's just do this thing now. So if I seem a little, scratchy, it's because it's, oh boy, is it early. Anyway, let's get started. Just a quick overview of the Blofeld. The panel is similar to the, Dave Smith Instruments, I think the Mono Evolver, I can't remember which one it was, but basically there's a matrix of synth parameters. So this row is LFO, shape, detune level, things like that, tuning. This row is for the filters. There are two filters in here. Then there's envelopes and modulation and the mod matrix and then effects and stuff like that. And you select which row you're editing with these four knobs at the bottom by clicking the little buttons and lighting up. What am I? Oscillator 1, oscillator 2, oscillator 3, etc. And then you can also edit values with these edit knobs, and you can turn this knob and basically go through all the parameters of the synth. So as far as panels go, it's very simple conceptually. So you can get to everything, but it's essentially not menu diving, but a lot of scrolling, a lot of jog wheeling back and forth with this thing. It is not my favorite panel. It's definitely not let me just reach out and tweak the thing I want. It's let me dial to where I want it, or button press to somewhere in the neighborhood and then dial to exactly what I want, and then tweak parameters. If it's not on this matrix, because this is like the basic stuff, oscillator shape, filter cutoff, resonance type, right? ADSR for envelopes, depth and speed and shape for LFOs. The basics are on this matrix, okay? But anything else, like, ring mod or FM, you're going to be dialing, you can either hit a button to get close to it or you can dial directly to it. And then you're going to be editing it with these knobs. So from a use perspective, it's not complex, but it's very, very slow, I'm going to say. So I may end up, I'm not going to, I'm not planning on editing out the editing, it's this patching, but oh my God, strap in, because it may take a while to get where we want. But, I'm a little out of practice. I took the last week or so to sort of refamiliarize myself with this synth and its layout. I do not reach for it very often, but all that criticism aside, this synth is really nice as far as the sounds it'll do. It's a wavetable synth, basically. Not in the sort of more modern sense. It is an old wavetable synth. It's not wavetables you necessarily scan through. It's wavetables that represent single cycle waveforms. And many of them, all of them maybe, have like pulse width modulation. It's got ring mod, stuff like that. We'll drill in, okay. And everything around the meta of patching, like getting in a init patch or saving, it's all shift functions. So we do shift option here, puts us into sort of utility mode, and then we dial the jog wheel over till our display says init sound, and then we hit shift utility again, and now we've got a basic patch. So if we go to oscillator 1, the init patch is a sawtooth. Before we go anywhere, sometimes I should I play with the sound dry or should I put some delay and reverb on it? We'll play with it dry for now. It's not going to last long. I'm going to need some, I need some inspiration in the form of some effects, some ambience. So you basically select oscillator 1. This knob becomes, if you look at the matrix, its shape. So when I turn this dial, right, and it shows you the shape until you get to the wavetables, at which point it just shows you their name. Right, but let's keep it real basic. Let's go with a saw. Okay, so you can do, set the saw semitones. You can do fine-tune pitch and set its level. Right, it's all the way up. If we click the filter button, we go to filter 1, and we can turn its cutoff all the way down. There's a number of filter types. Turn up a little resonance. You know, it's a nice sounding filter. I mean, they're all digital emulations. And let's see, if we want to go to filter type, that's this knob over here, right? And so you've got the usual suspects. You can bypass, low pass 24, low pass 12, band pass, high pass, here. Well, high pass resonance, turn the resonance all the way up. I'm not doing a synth review, but the filter models in this, at least most of them, with resonance are real squealy. Not quite MS-20 kind of distortion guitar squealy, but shrill. You get a little clipping in there, and then you'll have to bring the levels down. Okay, it's all about level management, but that's fine. And then type-wise, notch and comb. You've got a positive and negative comb. When we do a pad, the comb filter is really, really awesome. It's a very digital comb filter. So modulating a comb filter for effects on things like a pad, you know, bringing that in a little bit and then slowly sweeping it, as well as using, you know, like a low pass for normal sort of pad duties, is pretty cool. So we'll do that in a bit, but I'm making a pluck here. So let's take this back to low pass 24, bring the resonance down. We'll bring the filter frequency all the way down. We'll turn the filter envelope all the way up. All right, by default, our filter envelope's just a tiny little short pluck. We'll bring the decay up. We'll give it a little release on the filter, about 75%-ish. We'll go to our amp envelope. And it looks like an organ right now. It's no attack, full sustain, a little bit of release. All right, so we got a little pluck. So at this point, it's a sawtooth pluck. The same as every other synth, digital or analog otherwise, right? And we'll play with the resonance, no resonance. I'm going to keep it kind of low for now. Let's talk about what other things you could do with the oscillator here. Again, I'm not doing a laundry list, but that's a pretty boring pluck. I'm still not going to use any effects yet. So let me demonstrate something that it's a blessing and a curse on the Blofeld. So I want to get to something, I want to turn on, say, unison, right? There's a unison mode on the Blofeld. And there's no unison listed on this thing. So this is an RTFM moment. You kind of have to read the manual for the Blofeld to get anything beyond the basics of what's on the matrix, okay? This is a good thing for some people, a bad thing for other people, right? And let me make one note. There's a randomize function in here. You can say randomize, give me an initialized patch and then randomize it, right? Or you could say, just say randomize the current patch. In the manual on like page 3, it says a little paragraph that's highlighted in green or something that says, you know, we at Blofeld think that you should try creating random patches as a way of finding exciting new sounds. So even the engineers at Blofeld knew that this panel is a little bondage and discipline. This is a BDSM style panel, right? We're going to constrain you, right? There's a lot of functionality in this synth, but you have to reach your hand through like the Gom Jabbar box, you know? It's like, I'm going to fit my hand in this tiny little hole. Oh man, I'm having memories of All Creatures Great and Small, of someone helping someone calf. Helping a cow have a baby calf. Like, let me just reach in there and I'm going to pull the sound out through this tiny randomized hole. Anyway, but if you want to get to anything that's not on the matrix, you're going to end up surfing for it on this parameter knob. And so, for example, I want to turn on some, what was I saying? Detune, the unison, right? I know where it is. It's in the oscillator section for oscillators 1, 2, 3 on the list of pages that's in here. The detune stuff is in this oscillator common section, which is, if I think of the parameters as a series of pages behind this screen, and this dial basically lets you move through all of the pages. And these buttons on the matrix are just little shortcuts to jump you to a particular chapter, okay? So if I go to the oscillator 3 chapter, right, this says oscillator 3 here, and then I turn the parameter dial, I go through the pages of oscillator 3, and eventually, and this little indicator says on page 5 of 6, 6 of 6, and then I get to oscillator common. And this shows me the common stuff. There's 5 pages of this. It shows me a really nice is relative, but I think this is pretty useful actually. Shows you the state of the oscillators. It shows you what waves are on oscillators 1, 2, 3. It shows you how much ring mod is there, how much, I don't know what that one is. It might be frequency modulation probably. That's probably FM. And then how they're routed to filter 1 or filter 2. And whether allocation is like poly, mono, etc. What I want to do is I want to get to the page for oscillator 1. Well, the common oscillator section. There's unisono, so unison, and I'm going to turn it on. So here's off. I'll turn it to, the first mode is dual. You can turn it between off and 6 copies of the sound. So we'll just put it on off. Here's dual. You can hear it gets a little metallic because basically it's 2 copies on and they're slightly phasing. We can detune it. There's your unison saw sound that's like so ubiquitous in electronic music. Let's turn it to a 4-layer unison. Let's turn the detune up. And it can get, you know, you can head into Hoover territory. So we'll use that as a pluck. Now let's turn some effects on. Let's give it a little delay. All right, and we'll give it a little reverb. Turn a metronome on in my head here for a second. So, you know, in order to get to the sound, we've got a single oscillator running. We've got some unison, you know, and a pluck configuration that works pretty well, right? I'm going to turn it back to dual. I don't want it to be too thick. All right, so let's build a little patch. Not patch, let's build a little pattern here. Okay. Hang on a second, let me think about what I want to play here. All right, let's see, what is that? 6 bars. We'll shorten that and make it, and we'll leave it at 6 bars. Let's see how that sounds. We'll play with the filter while we do this. All right, let's do something a little more boring. Let's do this pattern. All right, so now we've got it's like my timing is off slightly. Let's try that. All right, we'll leave a little bit of syncopation in there. Syncopation, called bad timing. All right, so I've got 2 patterns. Let's bring it up an octave. So let's go to oscillator 1. We'll bring it up. There we go. So we've got that pattern and this pattern. The detune is actually a little strong on that unison. Let's turn the detune down a little bit. So we go back again, so we have to move through these pages. There we go, just a little detune on the unison. All right, so let's print that pattern, and then we'll print the second pattern, the one that's running right now, and then we'll change the sound a little bit, and we'll print the other one. All right, so in Ableton, we're in 12 now. You can just bounce to audio. Let's do that. All right, so there's one, and then let's do this one as well. Let's change the sound a bit on this one. Let's change the waveform. So again, we're just using one oscillator so far, right? So let's move it to... I like the mellow. Well, let's find a wavetable that's similar mellow to this sine. Oh, tell you what, I always end up at the beginning because I start dialing through and I never get to the end. So let's go backwards. Reserved. So you can load your own wavetables into this. You can also load, there's a sampling option, which I have, but I'm not going to dig into today. The organ. No, I'm not going to do any E-pianos today. Christmas bells. Ooh. I like that. What will it sound like against the other one? No, it's too similar. Something a little soft. Let's bring it down an octave. Here, let's take, we'll go with this one. Glassy, it's soft. Now let's pick an octave. We'll play it against the other one and see where we want to go. All right, that'll work. All right, let me print that. So we've got a little Berlin School bed thing going on here. And this is all with just one oscillator, right? So we have 3 to work with. When we get to pads, we'll start bringing those in in the bass as well. So, I mean, you've seen me here manipulating the pad while we're waiting for this to bounce. It's not so bad. It's not great. You know, if you really, really like one knob per function the way I do, this is definitely like a bit of torture, but it is navigable, right? And it helps if you've read the manual and you know what's available in that list of parameter panels that you have to sort of scroll through to get there. All right, so we've got a bounce. All right, so not bad, it's getting there. Let's turn this into a bass. Actually, let's start from scratch. Let's initialize it again. So I'm trying to keep my hand out of the camera. No, it's hard with my giant hands, right? There's a knit. Okay, we're back to our saw. So our bass is going to have, we'll turn the effects off first. Turn that back down. All right, and we'll go to our oscillator. Let's do something that's appropriate for bass. We'll use a sine sub behind it. We'll use that on oscillator 2 or 3. So when you're going through wavetables, here's a tip. When you're going through wavetables, especially in the bass register, wavetables have every sort of wave for a synth has a timbre, right? So of the frequencies that make it up, there is the fundamental, the sort of main note, and then all of the other harmonics in it. And if you play in the really low bass register as you're checking out wavetables, some of the waves have more harmonics than the fundamental, or maybe the fundamental is actually not even there. So like when you're hitting a note and going through the waves, you'll hear the wavetables that don't have a strong fundamental, and you can, say, decide whether you want that or not. So I want a bass, I want that strong fundamental, right? So like if we say there's a low C there, the fundamental's not there on that one. It is there. It's there, but it's kind of about half and half. We go back, there was one in here that had no fundamental, like this one. There is a deep sub, but the rest of the harmonics in the timbre are so strong that it sounds like it's not playing the note I want it to play. So just be aware of that. There's another one. It's one oscillator, it sounds like it's out of tune. It's because the harmonics are overpowering the fundamental. So just be aware. That's something you may want or, or not. Let's work with this one. Let's do a filter sweep and see what it sounds like. No. There's another one. Right? Sounds like it's playing at a chord almost, an interval. Almost an organ. We'll try that one. All right, that's the beginning of a bass sound. And we want to there's actually almost no. It's like all fundamental plus like the first harmonic. Let's go with something a little else. All right, let's see what this sounds like under the pattern. Real basic, a basic bass. All right. So let's turn some unison on that. We'll get some phasing going. Actually, we'll phase it with a second oscillator. All right, so oscillator one's this wavetable number 16. Let's bring in a second one. Let's dial it over to wavetable 16 so we have the same thing. This is an octave up. Their levels are both 127. All right, let's turn unison on that one. So we go to our oscillator 3 chapter, and we use this parameter knob to dial past it into the oscillator common stuff. Here we go. Here's our unison. We'll do dual. You can hear it clipping as the phasing sort of compounds itself. So we need to bring their levels down slightly. We'll bring them both down from 127. We'll bring them both to 100 and see if that gets rid of the clipping. It's still there. So is that may be in the filter. I'm not sure what the behavior is of the system as far as when I run into clipping in here. I'm not sure what's causing it. Like, I don't know where. There's no indication of where in the patch the clipping is coming in. And I haven't really spent that much time trying to track down this kind of thing. Is that on the output? I don't know. Let's see. System volume. No. I don't know. Keep it at 32. Well, we'll lose it in the mix for now. I'm not going to worry about fidelity. This is just demoing the thing. So. I do want a little more buzz there. Let's make that second wavetable just a plain old saw. Let's give it a little effect or two. How about some... I don't generally put reverb on bass that often. Let's soften the attack a little bit as well. There we go. I'm adding a little release to the filter and amplitude envelopes and then adding a little attack to the filter. Too much. I don't want it to ring out that long. I'm not super happy with the sounds with the wavetables I've chosen. Let's change this one as well. There we go. I always go back to the classics. Sorry, guys. I was trying to give you something with, wavetable goodness, but... And that clipping's really bugging me. Let's change the filter type. See if it makes a difference. That just masks it. Is it because of the unison? Maybe. Let's do this. Yeah, it definitely comes in with the unison. It's kind of has something to do with the two layers going together. I'm going to live with it for now. Be aware it's there. I'll do a later video or something. I'll put a comment on the community post if I figure it out. I'll dig into it later. But for this, gets the job done. All right, let's put this bass line under the bed. Sounds like a 1980s horror film soundtrack. All right, let's introduce a little bit more modulation in the bass. Let's make, let's give the filter some movement. All right. So we could give it a little pan. There's a lot of pan. LFO1 is going crazy. Let's see. All right, let's take it back now. A little side to side. could also go in Ableton. We can add a little chorus to it. Let's just see how that sounds. Or phaser. Nah, too much. Chorus isn't too bad. We've already got the unison going on, just a chorus-like effect. Adding another chorus on top of it, it's a little bit like gilding the lily, but I like that. Oh, you know what it might be? That's what it might be. So by default, I believe velocity on the Blofeld is set to amp level, right? So let's go to the amp. And we got to scroll through the parameters looking for like a velocity to amp level kind of thing. I bet I'm occasionally hitting like a full velocity note, and it's doing that. Let's see, envelope 4, then we're in LFO. Oh, it's in the matrix. It's in the mod matrix. All right, let's see. Modulation 1 is LFO. Dialing through all the mod matrix slots. I think there's 12, or there's 8, and then 4 like hardwired ones. 9, 10. Okay, no, there's more than 12. Oh, wow, there's a lot more than 12. Let's see. Okay, 16. Modifiers. Nope, that's not what I'm looking for. Oh, amp. Nope, nope. Amplifier velocity. Haha, it is on. Is it all the way up? No, it's about halfway. Let's turn it to nothing. I don't want velocity to impact the amp. Still hearing that little clipping. We'll call that character. Okay, good enough for now. Okay, go back to my filter. All right, so I want the mod envelope to slowly sort of move the filter envelope a little bit. Move the filter frequency cutoff a little bit. So we will go back to our mod slots. Modulation 1 is LFO to pitch. I'm not going to do that. We're going to do LFO. We're using LFO 1 on the sort of pan of the filter. We'll use LFO 2 to impact the filter frequency. Filter 1 cutoff. Okay. And then I want to dial to the next page and set the amount. There we go. Not bad. And we want to slow LFO2 down. So we go to LFO, go to LFO2, and we go to speed. Now, I'd like it to reset the LFO every time I hit a key. Is that an option? Phase start free. No, I want it to start at 0 every time. Actually, I want it to start high, so we'll dial in, say, 90 degrees. 45. All right, cool. So let's put a bass line down. Yeah, you guys are patient with me. I said at the beginning, right? Programming this thing takes a long time. So here's your example. All right, let's do this. right, so we're gonna go something like this. It's gonna go here, 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 here. All right, so we're gonna go. That'll be our bass line, okay? Very 80s slasher movie. Very 80s slasher movie. All right, yeah, that'll work. Now let's play with these oscillators. Maybe bring them an octave down. Too deep. Hear what that sounds like with. Just to adjust the effects, adjusting the effects on the bed. All right, so that's the beginning of an 80s slasher flick, you know? So, you know, what is it? What was the movie? Warlock, right? Tangerine Dream soundtrack on there. Here's this. God, how full of myself am I to compare myself to that? No. Anyway, so there's an option. Okay. So let's stick a little lead together now. So let's init. Oh, I got to print that. Let's print that bass line. All right, here we go. So my overall take on the Blofeld, like opinion-wise, while we're waiting for it to bounce, is it is a very powerful synth. Given some weirdness, it's very old. I'm getting this clipping in here on when using Unison that's, I can't track it down easily on camera in a short amount of time, right? I can go dig it up somewhere. It's, you know, whatever. It's a little slow to program, but it is navigable. I don't like the panel. And as far as like build quality, it's a solid thing, but I do know that these knobs fail. They have a relatively short lifespan because Blofeld sells on the website replacement knobs. So they've had enough replacement knobs. They've had enough knobs die that they're selling replacements outright on the thing. So I don't know if that's just a known defect. And once you replace it, it's good forever or for a much longer time, like the initial run, they're bad, which I can't imagine. That sounds like something that, I assume that's something systemic that they would fix. It's just that the nature of use, like this knob here for jogging through all of the parameter pages, this gets used so much that it might wear out sooner, right? And they have released the VST version of this. Here's a joke. I'm not going to demonstrate this, but in the VST for the Blofeld, the knobs are these little circles with little chevrons, and you click and drag up and down to, you know, put the value in. Believe it or not, when I drag a knob in the VST, its turn is like janky. It doesn't turn smoothly. It's like, come on, guys, what are you doing? All right, so there's our bass line and our bed. All right, let's do this. We're gonna make a lead and we're gonna make a pad. All right, eventually I'll put bookmarks in the video to jump to them. So let's initialize again. So again, going back to this parameter knob, we go into shift, into utility mode. We dial over to init, not store sound, compare sound, recall init. Say, yes, that's what I want. All right, and let's make a lead. We'll do a hollow lead. We will do a oscillator 1, do a square. Let's do a square. I think there's a square in here that's got like a sweep. No, I want it more hollow. Let's go back to a plain old square. Oh, I think the chorus is on. Let's turn that off. In Ableton, no chorus. There we go. Phaser? Yeah, we'll use a phaser. Just get a flavor for playing just a bare square over what we've got as a bed. Sometimes the simple stuff sounds the best. That's just a square with an oscillator reverb. All right, and let's introduce a little filter. Let's use a notch. Maybe we can go to our those combs. I'm going to save the comb for the pad. We're going to make a pad here in a bit. Hang on a sec. Routing, filter 2, filter 1. Oh, there's a filter drive. It's on 0, it defaults to 0, so I'm not sure what, I still don't know where that clipping's coming from. All right, let's filter envelope. All right, we'll use the amp to soften it a bit. We're heading towards, what is that 80s, 80s harmonica synth sound. For giggles, let's see what unison sounds like on it. All unison, all the time, I guess. Whoops. Yeah, the cheese factor's getting pretty high. Let's turn unison off. We'll keep it clean. And what would it be like with our filter modulation with the regular old? That's not bad. Let's layer another oscillator on it to give it some shimmer, some high shimmer. We'll get one of those sort of no fundamental wavetables. Like that one. Good enough. So let's that's working pretty well for me. So Blofeld, okay. You know, I'm not selling it. I like the way this synth sounds. It's going to stay in the collection. It's just that it's crippled by its panel. Now, I saw someone forwarded me, so I was bitching about the Blofeld panel in our Discord, right? And someone forwarded me, I think it was Audrey, I believe it was Keeper of the Low, sent me a link to a MIDI control surface that had like 50 knobs on it and 16 sliders, and it was tailor-made MIDI control surface for the Blofeld, because all of the Blofeld parameters are accessible via MIDI CCs, or I think all of them. I have not checked the manual exhaustively for whether they all are, but it looks like they are. And so somebody did build a control surface where you stick this inside it and you basically have your full one knob per function Blofeld, which is interesting. I have no idea how much it costs though. But you know, you could get the VST and explore it. I don't know if they've got a demo, but I like this synth. I hate the panel. That's what it comes down to. Now, let's see. So we built this little Berlin School bed thing, and we've put a little bass under it. We've got a lead we play over it. The thing I think the Blofeld is best at are pads. So I'm just going to build a pad. I'm not going to worry about layering it on the other thing. We're just going to explore some pad stuff here. And that'll be it for the day. So let's initialize it again. Knit. All right. And we will turn off the delay and reverb. We'll turn off the phaser. There we go. So let's build a little pad envelope here. We'll take our low pass filter. We'll turn its envelope amount up. We'll turn its frequency all the way down. By default, the envelope shape is a little pluck. So we'll spread that out. I think at max, you check the manual, but I believe the maximum time on the filter envelope for attack and decay is 10 seconds. So we'll set around 90 here. 90. So all their parameters generally go from 0 to 127. I'm setting the tails in the release here. All right, so that's a pad envelope shape. All right, I am going to bring the reverb in now because that will help inspire. All right, the reverb today that we're using is Raum from Native Instruments. This thing. All right, we're using Raum. We're literally just using it's a knit patch. We haven't chosen a preset or anything. All right. All right, now let's do this. Let's change our oscillator type to some of those low fundamental high timbre. There you go. So let's take that, let's bring in another oscillator. Let's bring this up an octave. All right, and let's change let's bring in filter 2, okay? Filter 2, let's set it to that comb filter we had been fiddling with earlier. And I think by default on the init patch, the filters are parallel and everything's going to filter 1. So we have to change in the oscillator, common oscillator routing stuff. We have to tell it to run the filters in series. Yeah, where is it? Is it in common oscillator? Is it in, you know what, it might be in the filter section. That would make sense, wouldn't it? So this is, okay, well, so here's the life with Blofeld. Like, this is an RTFM moment. I don't remember where the filter balance is. Not filter balance, that's balance, but where's the filter routing? I know I can set it to run in parallel. It's not before the filters. Nope. It's so easy to blow past it down in this thing. All right, so filter, filter. I could run them in parallel, but I'd like to run them in series. And I know you can do that. Or maybe you can only do that in the VST. We'll find out. Panning, routing, here we go. Filter routing, parallel, serial. So let's go back to filter 2, to our comb. Oh yeah, baby. That's some crazy stuff. All right, we'll tell this filter to key track a little bit. And we'll tell the envelope 4. We'll tell one of our mod envelopes. Or is it envelope 3? Here we go. Envelope 3 is going to have a big attack and a decent decay. And we're going to route filter 3 to filter 2 frequency. So I need an empty mod slot. It's not being used. Here we go. And we want envelope 3 to go to filter 2. Filter 2 frequency cutoff. There we go. And then we want to turn the amount up. Allegedly, that should be modifying that. Envelope 3, filter 2 cutoff. I've got an amount. Let's look at filter 2 here. Oh, I could have set the mod source. What happens if I double it up? Envelope 3. So I don't know whether we're having any effect on this or not. It's not obvious. So let's go back to, let's go navigate the matrix on the panel to filter 3, or envelope 3, I should say. Envelope 3, here we go. Normal ADSR. There it is. There it is. So that when I release, that's the release of the envelope. So let's go back to that and bring the envelope release time out a little bit. It's definitely a release. It's per note, which makes it the envelope. And let's go back to our filter. Mod source. Let's turn this down then. I have no idea what's causing that now. Mysteries of patching. Anyway, let's do this. Let's go back to our mod matrix. And we'll turn this amount down. All right, so that was this. So envelope 3, was it doubling up? I don't know if I have like 2 modulations that are adding together. I know the modulations in the matrix are additive. There we go. Interesting. So here's another oddity of the synth. I'm getting on the attack, I'm getting that click. Which envelope is doing that? Ha! All right, we're back. Figured it out. Human error. The release time on the amp envelope, I think maybe on all the envelopes I didn't test, if you set it to max, it sustains forever. It becomes a drone, which is actually a nice feature. But I had the filter closed because it's a pad. So what was happening was, let me demonstrate. With the filter all the way down, but the amp release all the way on, right? So it's actually still sustaining in the background. It's that on release, the filter closed. So the clicking you are hearing, that's the filter envelope on attack, essentially resetting, and there's a momentary click in there because the filter envelope is sort of resetting on key press. Because the amp envelope is constantly going, if I bring the low pass filter up, it's still playing in the background. It's still playing underneath. But when I hit a key, the filter envelope resets. It resets to do its sweep, and you hear a little bit of a click. And it's simply because I've got the amp envelope on full release, which is actually sustained. So if I bring this down, get this to come down. No more clicks. Right, and that is all the difference. All right, so mystery solved. So no, again, pilot error, not the fault of the engineers. All right, so where were we? So this is our pad. All right, so the Blofeld. I'm pretty spent at this point. I've spent more time on this in this video than any other synth so far. Probably, or any other synth to come, but that's the Blofeld, right? So we've got our Berlin School bed and our lead and our, well, we had our lead. I've reprogrammed it since then. And we've got our bass. So the Blofeld. Tiny, tiny panel. Pretty broad ability in the synth. You know, take what you will. There's a VST version of it. It is basically a VST in a box. And I mean that in the very best way. I like digital synths. And that's about it. So this has been, you're looking at the Synth Seeker channel. We're doing a 1 synth video for the Waldorf Blofeld. Thanks for hanging with me, and you know, I'll just keep going through the collection and adding on to it. Now I've got to go edit this thing down. So I hope you all have a great weekend, and I will talk to you all later. Thanks. See ya.